peace. And I pray that his family and friends stay strong. Hello, with that said, welcome to the best of the good life. Now, our guest today on the show is actually a Ugandan born, but UK based. You know, she's a health nurse, she's also a media personality and also a fashion influencer. She's right here on the show and she's here to tell her story. Welcome to the best of the good life. As usual, my name is Jongo, so don't move an inch. Please enjoy the incredible, beautiful Rita Sarah Mulindwa.
Often seen as a role model by the demographic 18 to 60, Sarah's lifestyle influence is closely followed by the paparazzi. This UK-based nurse, who is managed by Brian Morale Publications, is widely known and celebrated for her witty but pleasant sex education reels shared on her social media. It is with casual certainty that Sarah is endowed with features not awarded enough by merit, but gifted by the nature with physical intelligence and elegance.
Hello, my name is Sarah Mulindwa. I am a British TV and radio presenter and I'm also a podcaster. I was born here in Kampala. I was born in Mulago Hospital, and in the late 80s my parents immigrated from here in Uganda to the UK, and that's where I grew up. So I was about 5 years old when my parents immigrated to England, and I did all my studying and was raised in the UK. My background in terms of education is I'm a qualified nurse. I have a BSc in adult nursing and I have specialized in sexual health and HIV. And through my work as a qualified sexual health nurse, I often talk about sex, dating, relationships, and educating people about their sexual wellness and well-being. So that's what I currently do. And I also have a podcast which I launched recently in the UK, which is called Coming on Top, which is available on Spotify, Apple, and on YouTube. And in terms of my radio career, I am recently launching a radio show here in Uganda, which I'm looking forward to, which means I will be spending more time here in Kampala, which is very exciting. And in terms of my family background, I am one of 4 siblings. I have 2 older sisters. One of them lives in New York and my other sister lives in London, where I live. So does my brother. I went to university a year younger than I was supposed to, so I was 17 years old when I went to university, and I graduated when I was 20. And from when I was a young girl, I always wanted to be a nurse. My dad was very passionate about me being a nurse because his grandmother was a nurse and a midwife, and her name was also called Sarah. So his dream was for me to follow in her footsteps as her namesake. So, and I also really enjoyed shows that always involved things like blood and operations and the human body. I always had this interest in sort of that field, and I also enjoyed sciences when I was studying in school. So shows like Grey's Anatomy, shows like called Obesity and Casualty, which are shows in the UK. When I was younger, I used to watch them and always dream of being either a nurse or a doctor or working in the health professional in some capacity. So that was always my dream. And then when I was in my early to mid-20s, I decided that I also wanted to work in the fashion industry. So I have a background as a nurse, and then about 10, 11 years ago, I also ventured into the fashion industry, and I worked as a celebrity stylist and a fashion editor. And I also did a radio show which was all about fashion. So I had this other sort of career that I took on after I graduated from nursing school. So at the moment, I have quite, I'd say, an eclectic mix of what I do in terms of my career. It's sort of anything from healthcare, fashion, dating, relationships. I'm sort of a one-stop shop. So I enjoy really what I do because I have very different passions and things that I'm passionate about. And although they can seem different on the outside, oftentimes I find that the skills that I've adapted are interchangeable and can be applied to any industry. So for example, being a nurse is a very responsible job. You have to care about people, you have to be organized, you have to have a good heart and a good spirit and genuinely care about people. And I think for me, that has sort of helped me in my career as a fashion stylist and as a fashion editor. And I think the one thing that people have said to me oftentimes is, you're very nice for somebody who works in fashion. I think people always assume that if you work in fashion, it's very bougie, it's very pretentious. But I think for me, coming from a health background and sort of a real sort of grounded career has massively sort of helped me be a better person and a better mentor as well, particularly when I was a fashion editor. So oftentimes people say, oh, you're a nurse, but you also, you work in fashion, you've also done modeling. So yeah, it's a mix of things, but I always say, especially to, my followers who have different goals and things that they want to achieve, there's nothing, never hold yourself back and think, oh, if I'm a nurse, I can't work in fashion, or if I work in fashion, I can't have, a passion somewhere else and I have to stick to one lane. No, you can be anything that you choose to be.
Welcome back to the best of the good life. Now, our guest today is one of the few experts that have managed to cut through Brittany's sex secrets. We're here to find out more about that. She doesn't only address issues to do with sexual health, but she actually tackles other issues like, for example, relationships, identity, and body issues. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me once again to introduce to you the gorgeous and one and only Sarah Rita Mulindwa. Wow, that's a gorgeous name.
Oh, thank you. And you used my middle name. Thank you.
Rita.
Rita.
Most people don't call you by that.
No, I love it. No, sometimes they do, but I like it when I hear my middle name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have a gorgeous name. So tell me, are you really the kind of type of people that grew up watching these medical shows?
Oh goodness, yeah, things like Grey's Anatomy. So I'm from the UK, as you know,
yeah.
And we have two shows. One's called Casualty, and the other one's called Hobby City. So they're based on like the hospital life, sort of following the staff and the patients alike, and sort of following their journey. So that was me. That was one of my favorite shows when I was growing up. I was around 10 years old, so I used to grow up watching it, and I'd always think, oh, it'd be so interesting to be a nurse and to help just to help people firstly, but I also had an interest in sciences, and I did quite well in science when I was in school, and also my great grandmother was a nurse and a midwife, and she was called Sarah, so she was the one that I was named after.
Wow.
Yeah, so so for me, from a very young age, nursing just felt like a natural career option and choice pathway for me. Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you're a person who juggles a lot of things. I mean, well, how do you find balance? Like, for example, you are a fashion influencer, you are a philanthropist because you have some NGO work somewhere, and you announce at the same time you're a TV and radio personality. I mean, this is a lot to handle. How do you find balance?
It's a lot, but you know what? I think when you're passionate about something, you find the time. You find the time for things that you care about. And I think because I started quite young in my career, I was only 17 when I went to nursing school. So before I was technically an adult, I was already a qualified nurse. I already had my profession in place. So I was 20 years old when I qualified as a nurse. And so as you grow and you evolve as a young person, as a young adult, your passions change, your interests change as well. You broaden your horizons and things that are possible. And I remember when I was in my early 20s, so when I went to university, we didn't have social media. There was no Instagram or Twitter, or the internet wasn't what we know it to be today. And so when I finished my nursing school and I was practicing as a nurse for a few years into my career, social media became a thing. I always had an interest in fashion, but I never saw it as a realistic career option, just because there was no one around that I knew who worked in the fashion industry that could say, oh, so and so has done it, and so it almost felt like an unattainable career choice when I was younger. But then social media came and sort of even the level, even the playing field, so that you didn't have to depend on like a magazine internship or knowing somebody in the industry. You can sort of do your own thing and showcase your own talent through social media. So when I was doing so I still practice as a nurse, and then on my days off and on the weekends, I would like do photo shoots and like find models and style them and, you know, build my profile that way. And so when my career sort of started to take off in fashion, that's when I said, okay, I can cut back a couple of days in nursing, focus on fashion, and still carry the two. So for me, I found that I've got a really nice balance at the moment, where I still practice as a nurse part-time, but I still have my projects. I've just launched my podcast, which is really exciting. I'm, you know, getting back. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's called what?
It's called Coming on Top.
Coming on Top. All right. So what kind of issues do you address on this podcast?
So this is the kind of podcast where there are no subjects that are off limits. So, and one thing I love about, you know, being a sexual health nurse is that when people can trust you with their deepest secrets or things that they probably wouldn't share or will not share with anybody else, it sort of breaks the ice and that barrier, and so it's then easy for them to divulge more information about, you know, what they're going through in their personal life, emotionally, psychologically. So I think for me, that's why I really wanted to have this podcast, because I think when you're a sexual health nurse, it puts you in a very unique position. You see, like, you know, in one day I could see, let's say 30 people a day. So you can come in and, okay, you just come for a normal checkup, you're being responsible. So we have that basic conversation. But then naturally that conversation goes into other things, and you find out more about people and what they're struggling through, what they're going through, their opinion on certain things, their approach to dating, love, relationships, how they deal with breakups, and all these kind of things. And they share things that they don't share on social media or with friends and family. And so you have this wealth of information, and you kind of know what everyone is doing but not saying, or what everyone is thinking or feeling but is too afraid to say or doesn't have that voice. So Coming on Top is all about, you know, we talk about sex, love, dating, relationships. There's an educational element to it as well. So with every episode, the aim is, you know, that as a listener, when you hear an episode, you walk away learning something new. And one thing I love about the podcast as well that we're really trying to push is that all opinions are welcome.
OnlyFans is the website that connects fans to their favorite creators, usually for a monthly subscription fee. And although the website is not exclusively for adult content, the bulk of it is. And joining me today is a couple not afraid to show their fans what goes on between the sheets on OnlyFans and Pornhub. It's Mike and Jess Miller.
Does it feel like a safe space though? Because that's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing.
People are so sensitive with their health.
People are so sensitive with their health, but even not, leave alone just health, people are just so sensitive in anything. We live in this like cancel culture where if you say something, or, you know, you could offend people, and before you know it, you're losing your job, you're losing your livelihood. But I personally don't agree with that. I think we all come to our way of thinking, and our opinions are formed through our own lived experience, through our upbringing, through, you know, the environment that we live in and our culture and community. And so sometimes you can think, oh, this person has this opinion, there must be a terrible person. But actually, if that's how you were raised, or this is what you've been exposed to, sometimes you can have a certain opinion about something that some people might think is offensive, but actually sometimes people just need to be educated and learn from a different perspective. And I think for me, that's what Coming on Top is all about. It's all about saying, okay, these are what we all think, let's debate and let's talk about it, but in a way that's respectful, in a way that's healthy, and in a way that it's a safe space where people feel like, you know what, this is what I feel, this is what I think.
Wow, Sarah, that's amazing. So how can people, like, for example, look up for this podcast? Where can they find it?
Yeah,
like,
so it's
on Spotify, is it where?
Yeah, so it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. So Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
And YouTube.
Yeah. All
right. You know what's more interesting about you, Sarah? You're like you're the epitome of Black success.
Oh.
You know, when I look at you, I feel so proud. Like, for example, before this interview, I came to watch some of the clips on YouTube on, is it Durex UK?
Oh, yes,
the channel where you get to give out these sexual health tips. Yeah,
right.
You sit on the bed with these
two girls. Yes,
that was amazing. Girls. It made me proud inside, because I'm seeing a Black person, you know, that is thriving and successing. I mean, how does that make you feel? Like, Yo.
Yeah. Oh,
You're
for
flying
me,
our flag so high. How
oh,
does that make you
listen,
feel?
for me, like I'm, of course I'm British and I'm proud to be British, but I'm also Ugandan.
Yeah.
I'm also an African. I'm an East African. I'm a Pan-African. I consider myself a Pan-African. So for me, especially when I come to Uganda and I get that feedback from people, it does make me so proud because sometimes in life you can, just be doing your thing. So for me, like what I do is it's just my job. I don't see it as, oh my God, I'm doing this because it's so normal.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it for almost 15 years, so a long time. And so for me, it's just normal. And then sometimes you do forget the impact that you maybe have on other people and just that visibility and that representation. For me, it makes me proud. And even just, for people to see my name and think, oh, that's a Bantu name. That I can relate to her.
Why
So for me,
people
it makes
come
me so
to you
proud.
for advice?
Yeah.
Yo, how cool is it?
And then how more likely are you going to enjoy your sex when you're having sex with somebody who pulls out a condom? Then you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, you're clearly not somebody who just does this with everybody. If we just met and now we're having sex, then at least it makes you feel a little bit comfortable about your sexual partner.
Feeling
safe.
Because it's always a little bit scary when they're like, oh yeah, I'd rather not use a condom. Oh, I don't have one. It's like,
how many times have you said this to
Exactly.
somebody else? Where have you been? Yeah. So it's everybody's responsibility, essentially.
Yeah.
There is this thing I read about you, about an NGO that fights against HIV and AIDS.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what is that all about? It's a charity.
Yeah, so it's called Terence Higgins Trust. It's the biggest HIV charity in the UK, and it's been existing for 40 years. 40 years last week, in fact. So it started initially from a man called Terence Higgins, who passed away from HIV. He was a member of the LGBTQ community, who were affected, as well as Africans over here in the Western society. It affected that community as well. So he passed away sort of in the 80s, and a friend of his, I believe, set up the charity in his name. So for the past 40 years, they've been sort of fighting the good fight against HIV, not only to promote people testing and regular testing, but also destigmatizing people living with and supporting people living with HIV. So I've been one of their ambassadors for several years. So every year I work with them on a national campaign where we do a national campaign with posters all up and down the country, just to remind people about the importance of HIV testing, about knowing your status, but also updating people on where we are with HIV, that you can take medicine to prevent you from becoming HIV positive, that you can live to a normal life expectancy, you can have unprotected sex with your partner and create a baby without that child becoming HIV positive, or your partner, you can become undetectable, which means that if you're on effective treatment and the virus is low in the body, we call it undetectable. So that means that you can't pass it on. So these are all the things that we want to educate, not just those who are considered high risk, but the general population in at large, because I think that's the best way to destigmatize it when everybody's aware.
All right, check this out, guys. We're going to go in for a break. As I mentioned earlier, that she is a jack of all trades. This is just an iceberg, so don't go anywhere. Stay with us, please. We are still with the beautiful Rita Sarah Mulindwa. She likes it when I pronounce her full name. Let's talk about your wardrobe choice. Is it always important for you to look at this fresh and clean and sexy and hot?
You know, the funny thing is, right?
Yeah.
My friends and my family laugh all the time. The ones who know me every day, because I'm so not like, because some girls, they can't go out without makeup, their hair has to look on point, everything has to be. Me, I'm not one of those girls. Me, I'm more than happy. If there's no camera, I'm not doing anything, I'm more than happy to go out without makeup. Yeah, sweater, leggings, sapatu.
Oh, wow.
On UBC, the program that helps you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week, we showcase opportunities for creating new products and enterprises.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have 2 projects. 1 is for construction of my house, 2 is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Lives transformed on UBC. Every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
Trust me, you guys, if nonsense of this generation come in this package, I would definitely recommend anybody to be a nurse, daughter, sister, anybody, because man, she is a hot nurse. We're going to play some games, Sarah.
Let's play.
The game is called Never Have I Ever.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And you have to be honest.
I'll be honest.
Yeah, brutally honest. Okay. Never have I ever broken a bone.
Broken a bond.
Broken a bone.
A bone?
Yeah.
Never.
Oh, never? Really?
Never broken a bone.
You've never played as a child and
played as a child?
reckless?
I'm full of cuts and scars up from the top to the thing, but I've never broken a bone.
Yo, you look like you don't even have a single scar on your
They're all in my legs from climbing trees.
Oh, wow.
I used to be such a tomboy. Yeah, I'll always play with the boys. Yeah. Play football with my dad.
Let's talk about your wardrobe choice. Is it always important for you to look at this fresh and clean and sexy and hot?
Do you know the funny thing is, right?
Yeah.
My friends and my family laugh all the time. The ones who know me every day, because I'm so not like, because you know some girls, they can't go out without makeup, their hair has to look on point, everything has to be. Me, I'm not one of those girls. Me, I'm more than happy. If there's no camera, I'm not doing anything, I'm more than happy to go out without makeup. Yeah, sweater, leggings, sapatu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so me, I'm a very laid back person, by the way. But in terms of, you know, how I present myself to the world and, you know, yeah, I am very particular about what I wear. And I'm passionate about
Okay,
fashion, so.
Never have I ever Googled myself.
Oh, I've Googled myself.
I was going to say you're lying.
I'd be lying.
Okay, never have I ever traveled solo.
Never.
Never?
No.
When you come back here home, do you come with somebody?
Yeah, okay, so I come solo, but I've got friends here, I've got relatives here, so even, yes, I travel physically on my own, but I've never say, okay, I've traveled to a country where I know nobody, and I'm just traveling like a solo traveler. I've never done that, but you know I'd love to.
Yeah.
So never.
Never, yeah?
Never.
Okay, so let me ask you on the same topic. How important is it to you always coming back here, like in the summers or even any other time? Like, how important is it?
So important, so important. And I think growing up, one thing I'm always so grateful for with my parents is that they always made sure that we kept in touch with our heritage. So even though we grew up in the UK, and for a long time we didn't come, I didn't really start coming to Uganda till I was maybe about 14, 15. So they always made sure, you know, that they built a house here in Kampala so that we have a family home and somewhere to come back to. So for me, it's so important. You don't know where you're going until you know where you've been. And so for me, I have a very strong identity.
I like that. If you don't know where you're coming from.
You don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. So for me, I have a very strong cultural identity, and I'm very connected to my, you know, my ancestors and my country of origin.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. That's a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
Okay. Never have I ever seen a ghost.
I've seen a ghost. I've had spiritual experiences. Let me tell you.
Talk about that. That's interesting.
Don't let anyone tell you that God isn't real. Let me tell you. I've had spiritual experiences.
You're not calling God a ghost, are you?
No, God's not God. No. Well, he's a spirit. He's a spirit. So he's not a flesh. So he's a spirit. Yeah, sometimes the terms are interchangeable, but I have. Yeah.
Okay, never have I ever toilet papered somebody's house.
Oh no, never. TP'd someone's house.
Okay, this is the last one. Okay. Never have I ever laughed so hard I spit out my drink.
I did that yesterday.
You did that yesterday? You do it all the time?
See, I like being around people that entertain me and make me laugh. So a lot of my friends are very funny, so I'm constantly in stitches.
All right. Yeah. Now check this out, Sarah. We are going to shift on to another part. Okay. So there are two parts. This was so interesting, catching up with it, because there's a lot to catch up when it comes to you. You have so much that you're juggling, and you have so much going on. I wanna exploit more about on this next part. I wanna exploit more about your media personality journey and radio stuff. We still talk more about the podcast and everything. Yeah. So right, guys, you're gonna stick with us next week as we shift on to another episode. All right, please. come back and see this beautiful face, Sarah herself. She's an incredible person who stays in the UK, but of course she's our typical Ugandan. She's called Mulindwa. I like her because she cherishes her heritage. So how can they follow you? Do you have social outlets?
My Instagram and my TikTok is at sarah.mulindwa, as is my Twitter, I believe. And my TikTok for my podcast is Coming on Top Podcast.
All right. Yeah. All right. Follow her and then join us next week. Bye and have a good evening.
Okay, people are used to seeing
Next weekend.
medical doctors on TV, sort of giving advice, medical advice and such things. But it's very rare that you find nurses on TV doing medical things. And a lot of people don't even know what nurses do half the time. So I think it was a great opportunity, and I sort of got it from my media background.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.